Hi, Tarun. How are you?
Hey, hi, Arvind. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you, and thank you for taking the time for this debrief.
No, no, I understand. I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time since we chatted. I'm happy to go back to a happy space.
Right, great. Just to set the agenda, set the stage, Tarun, for kind of the broad topics that we'll discuss, and we'll keep it pretty conversational. Deep dive into your background, your IIT days, for example, how you got into IIT, how the journey was, and then your professional journey, which I think is really interesting. You had a broad variety of stints across startups, mid-sized companies, both in roles and in sectors and geographies, India, Middle East, etc. And then we can kind of talk about the application journey itself. I mean, you had applied the previous year, and we can talk about some
Yeah.
experiences, learnings from there, and what was the changes or sort of strategy and process like this year. And then, of course, we'll deep dive into ESA, why you picked the school, what stood out to you, the application process itself, any tips you have on essays, assessment day interviews, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with any thoughts or insights you have for candidates.
Done, Arvind.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. So if you can talk about your background, upbringing, school, college days. Let's say how you got into IIT, right? Which is no easy feat. So let's start from there.
So I'm born and brought up in Hyderabad. Till my 12th standard, I've been in Hyderabad. I come from a sort of a low middle class family, so uh, education was always a first priority for me and my family. And since early days, I realized that my parents and I realized that I was really good at math and science. So I started doubling down, and after post 10th I joined a hostel just to double down on my focus for IIT prep. It was really hectic, but I'm really glad I got into IIT Bombay because it opened up my eyes to a lot of different things. I met a lot of interesting people there, realized the value of working hard and following your curiosity. And post that, I had an amazing time, amazing 4 years at IIT Bombay. And right after I graduated, I started my own company. I was able to raise seed funding from campus itself, ran it for almost 1.5 year in health tech space into elder care. Ran it for almost 1.5 year, had few clients signed up, and we were doing well, but unfortunately COVID hit, all of my deals fell through. And during this experience I also realized that while starting up right out of college was the right move in terms of understanding what it takes to run the business, what are different aspects to it, I also realized that I was not very skilled enough to manage a company at that age. So that sort of guided my philosophy and my career choices. So after I shut down my company, I was very sure that I wanted to build a generalist profile because I want to go back to entrepreneurship down the line in my career. And to build the generalist profile and have that accelerated growth, I made a conscious choice to join startups. So post my company Hake Care, I joined a AI startup called Geohaptic. Worked there for 2 years. Got promoted into the strategy manager role. It was my first experience working in corporate and had a lot of learnings in terms of product management, project management, working with different teams, and building the skill set that is essentially required to take a project from start to completion. That was also my first experience with understanding how AI can affect for big enterprise clients. So I got a chance to work with Lenskart, the container store from US, Disney, Hotshot, and other big clients, and see the potential of AI. I think
Right.
around
So
the
this was
same
right
time,
around
Chat.
the Chat GPT moment or something like that.
Yes, so right around the time ChatGPT was also released, so I worked on a very interesting project where we integrated ChatGPT into our existing product recommendation algorithm. I think I was at the right time and in the right place where it helped me dabble and play around with AI bit. And post haptic, after 2 years, I wanted to experience more towards the side of marketing, branding. Again, because I wanted to build a generalist profile, I got an opportunity to work at Setu Nutrition and Founders Office as a strategy associate. I joined Setu. Again, this Geohaptic was a B2B company, a Setu was a D2C company, so it was completely different domains. And I made a conscious choice because I wanted to learn what marketing and branding was. At Setu, I had an amazing time again. Helped Setu launch two products, understand consumer marketing, D2C marketing, work a lot on meta marketing. I ran meta campaigns there, and I also helped Setu launch into the Middle East space. So all these roles at Haptic or at Setu, I had an opportunity to build things from scratch and build my muscle in taking up strategic initiatives, and helped Setu launch in Middle East. During that time, I uh, got in touch with a Dubai company. A founder reached out to me, and then I moved roles to the Dubai firm where I have been helping a lot of big brands from India expand into the Middle East and US. And again, I made a conscious switch to Modish Global because I joined as chief of staff there. I was responsible for the entire growth, and sales was a very core part of it. And again, after learning product management, a lot of internal skills needed to take a project to completion, managing team, learning marketing and branding. I realized sales was also another important aspect if you want to be a generalist founder. And Modish gave me experience where I built a sales team entirely from scratch, built a team of 10 people, built a sales engine which was able to close big brands like Pulmonas, Epigamia, Swiss Beauty, Hyphen, and lot more, which do collectively more than 2,000 crores ARR in India, and who are now setting up their businesses in Middle East and US. And working at Modish was also a very good experience for me because for the first time in my career, I truly had a chance to work with an international team, working with international people, their diverse thought process, with diverse viewpoints on how to approach challenges, opened up my eyes, and my learning was quite accelerated there.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's, I think, a really interesting angle because one of the, especially from, let's say, the MBA application standpoint, one of the myths is that you need to have big branded names on your resume, right? The Fortune 10s or the Fortune 100s, Googles, Microsofts of the world. But what you've you're saying and what you've actually shown also is that when you're in these small or even mid-sized companies, you actually get to move the needle more, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
impact of what you do is not the same as, let's say, a junior or even a mid-senior level at one of those Fortune 10 companies, where sure, I mean, you will learn other things like processes and best practices and so on. But here you are actually on the weeds, on the ground, doing things, failing, learning, and then adapting and so on, which actually gives you what I'd call a lot of transferable skills, right? I mean, because you were exposing yourself to multiple scenarios, which will basically, I mean, equip you to handle very different scenarios, right? Whether it's in consulting or whether it's in a strategy role or so on.
I completely agree with this point, Arvinda. And like you said, every time I moved different companies in different domains or different industries, one thing that always gave me confidence is my previous experience. Where, like you mentioned, I built a lot of transferable skills, and especially when you're working in startups, right, you get chance to work with a lot of talented senior leaderships, either it be CEOs or CXOs, where you really understand what it takes, what goes on in making a really strategic decisions, what are the thought process, and you own things to the uh, level or to the degree I don't think is possible in a multinational company, especially early in your career. Maybe down the line it is, but early in your career I
Right.
had ownership that uh, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it gets really tough, but the learnings, the upside of it is also very high. And I was fortunate enough to meet good people in my career who helped me grow in all, both as a person and in my professional skills. And
Right.
uh, I applied in the earlier cycle also to MBA colleges, and when I was applying last time, the consultant I worked with, the narrative or the thought process I had in mind, the guidance I got is it was I was in the mindset, and it was reinforced to me that I couldn't apply to a lot of good colleges because of my background, because I worked in startups, and because I don't have any big names in my resume that would hinder me a lot. But uh, I really wanted to change that, and working with you, you opened up my eyes to the eyes that this is just more than having big brand names on your resume. It's actually talking about the impact in your applications, what skills did you learn, and how the skills will help you in your MBA and accelerate to get your post MBA career outcome.
Right, right. So we'll get to the MBA application journey in a bit, but let's talk a bit about your extracurriculars, right? Things that you're involved in, such as traveling, trekking, mentoring, rescuing animals, and so on. So can you talk about what are some of the activities that you're involved in, things that you've done, and what you've learned from them?
Uh, I would like to pick and talk about just two extracurricular activities. So, first one has been teaching. Since graduating from college, I've been very passionate about mentoring and teaching students. So, even during my college days, I used to tutor uh, kids in math and science who were in 8th to 10th standard just to earn some pocket money. And I continued doing that even after I started working and earning money. I volunteered with NGOs nearby my place at Mumbai, teach during the weekends. And that is something that really gave me comfort and happiness over time. And the other thing was trekking. I really love adventure or what do you say, the chance to just be away from your phones, be in the mountains for 10 days and just be with the nature, be with your thoughts and decompress. So these two things really helped. And I think talking about your extracurriculars in your application, right, it shows different dimensions to your profile. And yeah, I think it makes you a well-rounded candidate in the eyes of adcoms. And it also helps you, how do I put it, it also gives sort of comfort to adcoms that you won't just be focused on academics at your MBA college, but also help with socializing and help improve the culture at college.
Right, right, absolutely, right. I mean, because especially for, let's say, someone with an IIT pedigree and even work in startups, even a good GMAT score, the baseline is that you're good analytically, right? Problem solving or math, number crunching, and things like that. But the other part of the equation, which, as you rightly said, that B schools also pay equal attention to, is the soft skills, right? In terms of
Yeah.
how well do you interact with others, how well do you surround yourself with different people, right? If there's a challenge, how do you respond to it, right? So for example, on treks or so on, that I think you spoke about on the essays. And yeah, I think that is something that applies to pretty much anyone, but especially Indian male candidates, where because you're part of this overrepresented pool with a lot of high scorers, even IIT, NIT, or BITS background folks. This is the additional angle that can actually help you stand out, right? In the sense that if you show the school who you are as a person, what you care about, and how you've grown in that, in that sphere, it's a great way to sort of show that you have a holistic profile beyond, your undergrad pedigree and kind of the work that you've done.
Yeah, and one thing I've also realized after talking to adcoms is, like you rightly mentioned, this extracurriculars not just help showcase that you have social skills and mingle well with your fellow students of the college, but it also gives them a sort of confidence that you wouldn't break down under the pressures of a hectic MBA college life. I mean, I know a lot of people have gone through tough times in professional life, and MBS supposedly very intense, and having extracurriculars that let you decompress also gives sort of comfort that you can manage higher stakes, higher pressure situations and overcome them.
Right, right, absolutely, yeah. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about what actually motivated you to do an MBA. Right? What was that? Do you remember any aha moment or trigger point when you said that I want to do an MBA? When was it and why?
I mean, because I was working in startups as very closely with the senior leaderships, right, Arvind. While I was very good at picking up a domain, learning things, and building skills from the zero, I realized over time that to become a senior leader, you or someone who can lead a company, you need to have a holistic understanding of a business, and MBA definitely would help. And the second reason, primarily for me, was while working with the senior leadership, I've seen a lot of people tackle challenges or solve them in strategic ways that I really couldn't think of. And one thing I saw very common in them was that they had MBA degrees. And I'm not saying it was the only reason, but going through an MBA helps improve your critical thinking, get understanding of the business at a holistic level, improve your strategic structured thinking that will help you make better decisions. And I want to be in that place. And over time, after working for 5 years, I felt I've hit a ceiling in my career too. And also wanting to have an international career, MBA made the right sense for me.
Right, right. And I think it, in a way, goes back to what you were saying earlier about your conscious choice after your startup to pick up skills, right, across different dimensions. You did that through startups or mid-sized companies. And MBA is sort of like, let's say, a low stakes. The risk is low in the sense that if you blow up a project at work, as long as it's not an internship with a company, I mean, you're fine, right? Or in a case discussion, let's say you throw out an idea and people disagree with it, it's a great way to learn. Even
Yeah.
if you're wrong, to learn the right way to think, or even if you're right, learn how to persuade others or convince others that this is sort of what needs to be done, or so on, right? So yeah, I think I totally agree with the point that it is sort of in a way a low stakes but high exposure environment where you get to make mistakes, you get to learn, form a network also, people from different backgrounds, which is even more the case in European schools. Right? We'll get to that in a bit because the diversity of the class is much higher, in terms of number of nationalities present and so on. But before that, can we talk about the application process itself? If you can deep dive into you had applied the previous year, so you knew, let's say, what to do or what not to do or so on, at least the lay of the land, right? But in terms of the process itself, what are your key recollections, insights, or lessons in terms of picking schools, in terms of going through application components, CV, essays, and yeah, if you want to maybe touch a bit on our working process while you talk about it, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, got it, Arvind. So I went through the MBA cycle twice, and my thought process or my approach to the application has been completely different. The first time I applied it like a typical Indian student, where uh, I had a agency helping me with my applications, but I don't think I got a personalized suggestions or expertise touch there. And it was me driving a lot of conversations there and them just doing edits on my grammar. And the first mistake that I did, especially from the essay point of view, is I went diverse on the topics or what I wanted to convey in essay rather than going deep. I think that was one big issue. And not having a very clear thought process on my post MBA goals. So especially in my case, because I've come from startups and I also didn't have a lot of time during my first MBA application cycle. I didn't get proper time to sit down and think about what my post MBA goal is and how would my previous experience connect to my post MBA goal, and how would this specific MBA college actually help me out. Especially working with admitStreet, one thing that I really liked about you was you made sure to instill or give me guidance on what is really needed to ace the essay point of view, and what are the angles or the thought process that I should have, especially angles like understanding the cultural fit with the college, understanding what my post MBA goal is, where you also helped, and understanding the curriculum of the college and how that would help me achieve my post MBA goal. Especially from the essay point of view, what I would suggest is, instead of going diverse like I did in my first application cycle,
Mhm.
select one or two concrete examples from your personal life that you think would be high impact, deep down on them and write them out. And again, what I've realized is, because in India, typically either it be CAT or JE, right? The thought process is, if you assume that you get a very good score, your chances of getting into school are very high. I have a GMAT score of 695, and I was also in the false hopes that having a good GMAT score means that it's done, I would get into a good college. But that is definitely not the case, with especially with the international MBA program you're competing with very strong candidates, and you need to have a holistic application. So essays are just one part of it. uh, in my first application round, I didn't realize CV played a very big role. With you, I did realize. And my suggestions for CV is that is the first thing that you should knock down your list and spend a lot of time on it. And the mistake I did last time with my first application round is I made CVs from a point of a company recruiter, a HR recruiter, where I use a lot of jargons, some things that industry specific HR would understand. But with AdmitStreet, you made a very valid point. When you're applying with a CV for MBA college, you need to put adcoms in your viewpoint and build it according to them. So I changed CVs in such a format that it is easily understandable for the layman with not using a lot of jargons, and made sure it was very much action oriented. I tried to highlight my leadership skills, quantify my impact wherever I can, and showcase how I've led companies through different difficult times or help them grow in achieving their KPIs. And essays, resumes, and then the smaller things also matter, like making sure you are very presentable and articulate to your best abilities during the video essays, researching the college about the culture, what makes this college unique compared to other colleges, and how they would help you achieve your post MBA goal. That is something I really doubled on in my second application. I think I spent more equal time on the drafting my essays and equal time on attending the college events, talking to students, alumni, understanding the culture there, trying to understand what resources of the college that I can use to achieve my post MBA goal, and try to incorporate them in my essays in an organic manner, which signals to the AdCom that not only did I have a very clear understanding of what my goal is post MBA, but also clear understanding of how this college can help me achieve my goals and what resources that I'm already thinking of utilizing in the college to improve my odds of getting placed.
Right, right. Yeah, I think great pointers, right, and great recollection. So let's say, I mean, if we are to focus on this application cycle, what about in the sense that in your mind, what were some of the key factors of your profile that that differentiated yourself, right? And also on the contrary, what were some challenges, and how do you, for example, if you had a low GPA, which I think you had with a valid reason, which was justified, which is also a commonly asked question, right? Which is that if you have a low GPA, you're done and dusted, which is not the case. I mean, as proven by you and also other folks. So, can you touch on these two aspects? What are some core strengths or USPs that helped you stand out, and also what were some of the challenges, and how did we address them in the application?
Yeah, Arvind, I think again, I would like to highlight how you helped me find my own USPs. In my previous application cycle, I had no USPs. I was just applying as someone who worked in strategy roles as chief of staff and wanting to go to being a founder level person. But with administrative, one thing that I really got a chance to do is, even before we started applications, we had few sessions where really sat down, understood my personal and professional story, and tried to highlight few USPs. And I think few USPs that I highlighted in my application and that really gave me a good ROS, highlighting my founder angle and how I've carried the founder DNA throughout all the jobs that I took, where I started initiatives from the scratch, built teams from scratch, and managed tough conversations and managing stakeholders. The other USPs definitely were working in diverse industries. So talking to you, I realized that post MBA, my short term goal is consulting, and it made sense given my background and how my diverse background of working in different industries and in different companies of different sizes, helping them grow, would add to this. And thirdly, I think having a brand name of IIT Bombay and having a good GMAT score also helped me stand out in the pool of Indian male candidates.
And on the
And
challenges of how you came.
sorry, Arvind, one thing I really wanted to highlight is LOR. So when I was first
Yeah.
in my first application cycle, I didn't pay much attention to LOR. So I'll be very honest. The agency also didn't help me though. Whatever generic content I got from Chat GPT was something that my recommenders used, and that is how it was applied to all the colleges. But this time I also made a conscious choice to not only reach out to people who had fancy titles, but reach out to people I've worked closely, who know my skill set. And again, similar to the essays, we selected few personal stories and dove deep on what I did right, what I did wrong, and what were my areas of improvements, and focused really on awards. And I got some stellar awards from my founders and managers, which I think really helped stand out in the application process.
Right. Right.
And coming to weakness, Arvind, one of the two weaknesses that were really troubling me is my low CGPA during my undergraduate times, and then lack of big brand names in my resume. So I was able to structure the story around the lack of big brand names through your help, where I focused more on the impact and learning and highlighting that these skills were transferables and will help me post MBA and also during MBA. And I think I tackled that problem that way. With low CGPA, I mean, it was a very hard pill to swallow for me, but I realized there's nothing I could do to change it, and the only way out was being honest. So I focused really hard on getting a high GMAT score to offset it. And I was very honest in my resume, sorry, in my essays about why I got a low GMAT. I was very focused on my entrepreneurial side projects. I was working with design professors building cognitive games for elderly with dementia, and how that eventually led to my first company where I raised seed funding, and I portrayed it as an honest story, and I think that worked. And I also did few courses to signal that that was just a one-time scenario where I was not, as a a young student, I was not really focused on my course, but that doesn't mean that I'm not focused or can be focused. So doing courses, getting good grades, they also help.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to share or recall the application, I think, deadline week or weeks when you were in some travel and the happenings at the time?
Yeah, Arvind, I mean, you were really patient with me and you really helped me out during this phase. So I really wanted to do a trek called Pinbaba Pass in India that unfortunately my dates collided with the first week of submissions for US colleges. I was out of network for 10 days, so we wrapped up a lot of my essay draft before I went, and you shared a lot of feedback. Post coming back from trek, I was supposed to return back to my home in Bombay, but again, I got stuck in Himachal due to landslides. I was there for 10 days, and we both were trying to figure out things on calls. I remember us getting on calls during late nights, me diddling away on my phone, trying to make edits, trying to improve my essays. And it was a difficult time, but I was really glad that you were able to help me out. One thing that I really liked during that phase is not only did you give me confidence that you're available till late night or whatever time I was available because there was network issues, but the feedback you gave was also very to the point and straight, and I had clear actionable items that helped me close the essay drafts, and I was able to make submission on time through my phone itself and get an interview invite also.
Right. Yeah. I
Truly
mean,
had an adventurous application process this time.
absolutely. Yeah. When candidates say adventurous applications, they mean it in let's say subtler ways, but what more of an adventure than a trek or a potential landslide, and I think there was some risk of landslides or something right at the time when you were.
Yeah, I remember I was making edits to my Dardan essays on the bus, and there was a big landslide that happened, and we had to come back.
Yeah, yeah. Now looking back, I mean, you have it ended well on both fronts. So yeah, great. So let's talk about ESA, Tarun. So this was, let's say, one of your, or if not your, top priority school, right? So why was that? And can you talk about the conversations or interactions that you had with the AdCom, alumni, student community, and so on?
Uh, Even before coming to shortlisting the colleges, Arvind, I think the one high impact activity that we did was trying to understand my career path and what my short term career goal post MBA is. Once I was 100% onboarded that strategy consulting is something that would fit my career, my interest, and my skill set, I doubled on finding a lot of schools that would make this possibility happen. And when I started researching, ESA was a top school. It has great consulting pipeline, great a large cohort of the ESA batch goes into consulting. And one other thing that really attracted me to ESA was the case method. So each class at ESA's case method, where you interact with students from across the world. ES is also one of the most diverse classrooms in the MBA programs, with 85% of the cohort coming from countries outside of Spain. That really interested me. Is learning about a strategic problem, debating with people from different background really helped. And one thing that really sealed the deal for me was attending one of the live case study session. I think 3 4 months before the application, I attended one, and the professor, the interactions, the learning, the thought process, or the opinions that I couldn't even think of were highlighted in that session, and it really doubled on ESA for me. And lastly, during my application process, one thing you really drilled into me was to talk to a lot of students, alumni, and understand the culture at colleges. I talked with students from US colleges and also European. And one thing that really made ESA different is the alumni network is really helpful and really friendly. So I reached out to almost 10 alumni from ESA, 10 seniors from ESA. Every one of them took time out of their busy schedules to schedule time with me. I remember I talked with a senior called Satish who passed out in 23. We had a conversation for 1.5 hours. He not only helped me with the application process but also life in ESA. How do you go about recruiting? And many seniors, Mrityunjay, Gloria, Luke, everyone helped me out. So that culture really attracted me to ESC after working in India. And if I wanted to go to a college, I wanted to be in a college where I knew that I had a lot of support from colleagues around me, alumni around me, and felt like ESA could offer, and I could find my tribe where I could give back to the community and also can learn from them. And that really attracted me to ESA and doubled on.
Right. And, can you talk about the application process? I think you mentioned CV, essays, etc., but particular to ESA, the post-interview shortlist, there's 2 stages: assessment day and interview. Assessment day, particularly unique to ESA, right? So, how is the assessment day like, and what kind of aspects were covered there?
Yeah, so especially for assessment day, Arvind, I got a lot of insights from talking to alums and also getting some resources from admitStreet. So assessment day has 2 aspects to it. So first aspect is before the assessment day, they give you a case that you need to prepare and discuss that in class. Post that, you will be given a problem statement, then you discuss it with a small group of 8 to 10 people. My suggestion for candidates applying or want to succeed in assessment is be thoroughly prepared about case, that particular problem statement. I spent almost 2.5 3 hours making notes about the case and being prepared end to end. During the assessment day, especially in the first half, everyone will get a chance to speak when the professor calls out your name. And the only suggestion here is be focused on the conversation and the direction it is taking. And whenever professor calls you out, talk in the context that is relevant to the conversation that is happening, not just highlight a unique point that you thought of when you were discussing. And post that, once the problem statement is given and you're with your learning team, again, suggestion here is they're trying to find how well you would fit in a group discussion with people with different nationalities, and how well can you manage conversations and navigate through different opinions. So my suggestion here is make sure that you don't overpower or speak a lot and overshadow other people. It's not about showing that you're the best person or you're the most interesting person who can come up with a lot of interesting opinion or unique opinions. It's about trying to understand different viewpoints, consolidating them together, and sort of leading the team to come to a good conclusion and solving the problem statement in the right way. I remember in my second session with the team, I was not the one who talked a lot, but made sure that I added relevant information wherever needed, and also gave opportunity to let other people speak. There are people who are everyone was prepared for assessment day, but people might be introverted or shy who didn't want to talk. So we made sure to build a culture where people could put on their opinions, and then we debated about it and came to conclusion. I think that really helped me in the second part, where I tried not to overpower but enable the conversation.
Right, right. I think that's a great tip or takeaway, right? It's not how many times you speak, it's the quality of what you speak. Even if you speak, say, fewer number of times than you might, let's say, think is some optimal number, and also encouraging others to speak up if, they are, for whatever reason, maybe they are introverted, or, they didn't have a point at the time. So,
I'll be very honest. When I prepared for the case and the problem statement, I thought I had amazing views and had to put it out. But once the conversation unfolded organically, a lot of interesting
right,
points, the viewpoints that I didn't think of came during the discussion and we incorporated. And I think that was the objective. They wanted to find out when people know when to step back and let others speak, and when do you need to talk. I think that is a skill they were testing during the group discussion.
right, right. What about the interview? I mean, the one-on-one interview after the assessment day. What was it like? Do you recall any topics or questions that were being asked? And yeah,
Yeah, Arvind. So my ES interview was almost 1 hour long. I had it with the Indian Adcom itself, and it was very conversational. So the first 5 minutes or so, we were getting comfortable with each other, doing a small talk, and we got we gotten into it from my resume, and it was very organic, where she was diving deep into what all points that I've raised in my resume, what actually went through the projects, what were the challenges that I faced, what were the weaknesses, or what if I could have done things differently. So from the professional and personal point of view, this segment of the interview went for almost 40-45 minutes. And again, here you have been of great help, Harvind. Before the interview process, you suggested that I write down, if possible, 8 to 9 stories from my professional life and personal life in the star format, understand what I did right, what went wrong, what could have been improved. And these all stories really helped me during the interview process. This all came up organically too when we're talking about projects, how I was able to help C2 with international expansion, writing down specific stories about how I convinced my founder with data rather than just pushing a narrative, how we ran small A/B experiments. And all of this was possible because I already had a list of 8 to 10 scenarios that I wrote them down in staff format. And I highly suggest candidates, no matter if it is a ESA interview or other interviews, to have stories that you can use. And in the last 5 to 10 minutes, it was more about why ESA. One very interesting or the curious question that ESA Adcoms ask is, even in your application process, they ask you about other different MBA schools that you're applying. So this came up during my interview process on why was I applying to INSEAD, why was I applying to Darden, why was I not very specific to a European school or a US school. And uh, again, we discuss this, and my suggestion to candidates is cover bases and just not focus on your personal and professional experience. Go through everything that you have written in your application and have a strong reasoning on why you did it that way. They want to check and make sure that you have thought through the entire application responses and you gave coherent answers. And I think that helped me out. And last 5 minutes, it was just a Q&A with Adcom, and there I used that time to ask specific questions to build and show my interest in ESA.
right, right, right. Great. So we can wrap it up. Tarun, if you are to share, I think you already mentioned a couple of tips, but if you are to summarize on your key, pieces of advice for candidates that are applying to ESA, or any top business school for that matter, what would those be?
Uh, I have few pointers, Arvind, because I've already burned my hands in one application
Yeah.
cycle. Uh, Number one suggestion would be is start the application process as soon as possible and double down on your strength. Focus. I would suggest give equal time and talking to students from the college, attending the college events, talking to alumni to understand the culture and if it is the right fit for you or not. That was a game changing advice for me in my second application round, and that really helped me land the ESA offer and also interview calls from other top MBA schools. And my other suggestion would be is try to take a holistic approach and don't just focus on your professional career. Focus, I would suggest ki talk, if possible, try incorporating personal stories. I incorporated stories about my mentoring students, struggles in my early life, in my childhood due to financial issues, and I think that gave depth to my candidature and helped adcoms understand me as a person beyond my professional life, and I think that really helped me, and that is something I did different in this round.
Right. All right, great. Thank you again, Tarun, and all the best for your time ahead at ESA, Spain. Have a great time, and yeah, thanks once again for taking the time.
Thank you, Arvind. You played a very important part in this, and I'm glad we could work together. And I'll definitely stay in touch. And hopefully, I'll get to meet you in Barcelona when you travel there.
Yeah, hopefully, and glad to be in touch. Thanks again, man. Take care.
Thank you, Arvind.